Good evening and welcome to another day Issues in Focus with Shibiki Vivals. You would have heard before I told you guys that Thursday is the best day of the week for me. It signifies the ending where I can just start relaxing, enjoy whatever's in store. But this evening, I am so elated with the guests that we have here on the platform. The very first of its kind that we are basically recognizing our veterans in society. And these are individuals both from Guyana and those who are in the US. So we are hoping and anticipating a wonderful evening and our conversation this evening. So you will get to learn more about them. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to say a short prayer as usual for you, the audience. And so as we interact this evening, that indeed each and every one of you will be blessed. Let's pray. Great God and eternal Father, we are thankful for this evening. I pray that you will be with the members of the audience in a special way. Father God, those who are currently viewing and those who will be viewing, I pray that you would anoint them and help that someone will be inspired, whether to be a part of the military or to even for others to be more appreciative of the work of veterans in our society. So bless the members of the audience in a special way. Through Jesus Christ we pray. Amen. All right, great. So we're gonna get straight into it. I want to say hi, Janissa. Good evening to you. It's good to have you as usual here on our program. And so what I want them to do, because I mean, it's the first time ever I am interacting with so many veterans at once. And I guess out of all of them, two of them I had interaction with before, of course, with Sergeant Cadogan, happens to be one of my, well, I had the opportunity of teaching her, um, even though we are not that many years apart. But I am happy that she's on this platform, and I met Chaplain Lawrence sometime back. But I'm going to take this opportunity, each and every one of them, they are going to introduce themselves to you, and they're going to tell you which part of the force they're serving. If you look at the bottom, you will see their rank, and so you will know exactly for some of them what exactly they're doing. But we are going to find out more about them. So the first thing I want each and every one of you to do for me is to introduce yourselves. Tell us which part of the force that you are. Tell us the part of the force that you're part of, and how many years you have either served or you're currently serving. So we can begin in any random order.
All right. I will first. Um, my name is Chaplain Lawrence. Right beside me, Chaplain is a lieutenant. That is my rank. I am a United States Navy. However, when you hear Sergeant, he's in the United States Marine Corps. The form is because Navy chaplain, Coast Guard, and the United States. And so I have the privilege. As far as how long I've been in the service, this is 5 now. Got 50 more to go. I'll stay in as long as the Navy likes me, and my pleasure to meet you.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you very much, Chaplain, Chaplain Lawrence. And so we're gonna go over to whoever will begin next. As I said, I'm going to leave this segment open. So go in your order. Go in your order.
Good evening, everybody. Shavik, it's funny that you would mention I was your student because one of my students are also here. Sergeant McFarlane was my student.
Nice. Lovely. I loving it.
So, my name, as Shibiki would have mentioned, is Captain Stacy Cadogan. I've been in the Guyana Defense Force for a few months shy of 9 years. Um, currently serve in the Human Resources Department. I'm the Forces Recruitment Officer. That's about it. And I do think I will stay until my 20 years plus. I can definitely envision that. However, for the past 4 years, I've only been in my field when UG is off because I've been undergoing my studies in environmental studies. So
Beautiful. And I love the fact, when I at first when you told me you're in the military, I'm like, really? Because most times that's like the immediate reaction when you hear females join the military immediately after school. But then I know what I can say for you, Captain Cadogan. You have been doing a fantastic job. I've seen one of the things I never told you this, but I can remember in 2016, when the former government they were inaugurated at the National Stadium. I think you led one of the march past. I can't remember.
Yes, I was one of the platoon commanders for
Yeah, I felt so
female
proud.
guard.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, Stacy, and hear me shouting, and you couldn't hear me in any case. But I was really and truly cheering you on. So it's good to have you here this evening. Who'll be next?
All right. Chief Warrant Officer Trey Courtney Britton, in the DC Army National Guard. I spent about 7.5 years on active duty. Of those years, I spent 5 years in the 82nd Airborne Division. I'm a maintenance officer, uh, and I've been in for about 24 years. I have about a year left, and then I'm gonna decide exactly what I'm gonna do after then. So that's me.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Cedar Victory Britain. Nice meeting you. Uh, let's go.
Hi. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Sergeant McFarlane. I've been in the Marine Corps for 5 years now. My primary job is a 7051 crash fire rescue, but I am currently serving as a rescue team leader over here in the Washington, D.C. area. I plan on getting out after, I'm on my second enlistment. I do plan on getting out after this enlistment.
You plan on getting out. That getting out songs, getting out. I'm
I'm gonna transition into the civilian world after this.
All right, beautiful. Thank you very much, Sergeant McFarlane.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Cortavia Britton. I was a sergeant in the Army National Guard. I served first with the North Carolina Army National Guard, and then I transitioned to the DC Army National Guard, where I ETS I got out just last December, so just 1 year ago. And my primary jobs were for the first 6 years of I was in it for a total of 11 years, and for the first 6 years, I was a truck driver, and then for the remainder, I was a human resources specialist.
Wow.
Yep, and that's me. Hi, everyone.
Oh, Chuck, I want to say something. When I hear, a lady coming to me and say, "Oh, I was a truck driver in the military," it's like, especially Stacy, well, Captain Cadogan, us in Guyana there, you're not like sometimes it's like that's the last thing a woman or even in the Caribbean setting. And so I'm proud of you. Hats off. Man, you women keep men, please don't feel anywhere, but women just keep I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Do your thing. All right. So I really want to know this particular question here, what made you choose this aspect of the military, and what are your responsibilities currently that you're sharing? While you're pondering on that, I want to say welcome to Tawana and Phenomenal Woman 18. Nice meeting you. Of course, some of these names I don't know personally, but it's good to have all of you, and to all our viewers, it's good to have you viewing. All right, good. So anyone can begin with this question here. What made you choose this aspect?
So I'm gonna go first. So this aspect of the military, I didn't choose it. It was chosen for me because of my personality. The previous chief of staff, well, he's on leave now. He was the staff officer one, General one at the time, and he thought my personality suited the force recruitment officer role. I don't know why, but it was chosen for me. Nevertheless, I did not regret it. And as the force recruitment officer, I'm responsible for all intake in the military, whether you're civilian, whether you're coming as a basic recruit, a standard officer, or a reserve officer. That is my responsibility. I am outside of the intake, I'm also responsible for ensuring I'm that person that bridge a gap between your civilian world and you becoming a soldier or officer or civilian working in a civilian capacity in the Guyana Defense Force. I do all your documentation and everything. So that's primarily my responsibility, to ensure that you are equipped to be employed or you are qualified to be employed in the GDF.
Thank you very much. So if when I return home and if I want to join, I have to deal with you.
When you send in your application, I will be getting it.
Are you on the same chat?
All right, great. So to our viewers, please note this is a resource. When we have resource persons, we have to take note of it for any young person who want to join the military. Captain Cadogan is not a stranger to, especially to Borby's community. So no, make contact. She will be able to give you the link. She will be able to give you the information. And remember, even after the live, if by chance you want to make contact, you want to find out more information, just send me a private message, and I'm going to make contact with one of these individuals, and they will get the necessary information that you need. All right, I want to welcome to I don't know what to call you. I don't know what to call you, Captain. I don't know what to call you, Marine Officer. I don't know what to call you, Darren Johnson. So I'm going to ask you one favor to edit your name so I'll address you with your correct military status at this point in time. Good to see you after so many years. All right, great. So we're going to continue with the question. What made you choose this aspect of the military, and what are your responsibilities?
All right, I guess I am. For those that might not know, those. So I guess I can say that I choose this as by God, but I do. My
Chaplain, I don't know. I'm now hearing you. Your microphone is shorting out. I don't know if there's a connection somewhere.
Okay.
Well, at least I heard that
better now?
sentence.
Okay. Let me see if I. Oh, you know what? My other producer, I should speak slowly, and that's probably why I have a tendency to speak rapidly. My responsibility, chaplain. So we really just. Well, I am a so responsible for taking. You have a. I know you're boot camp just now. Those are the times really popular, but careful that are under some stress that they've never.
All right, great. So, one of the things your job involves counseling soldiers, right? Other military officers too.
Yes, counseling Marines, but yes, I do counsel people both for religious nature and strength and resiliency. The buzzword.
All right, good. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. All right, Sergeant McFarlane.
Okay. Good evening once again. My job in the military, my primary job is a firefighter. Currently, I'm serving as a rescue man over there. Right now, my job is to lead a team of Marines into, just for simple terms, I say if there's an earthquake or something, we'll come in and we'll rescue someone that's stuck in a hole or something like that. My job is to lead these Marines, find the best course of action to get the mission done, get that personnel out of that environment. We usually do it under, we would respond in a chemical, biological environment. However,
Lovely. Sergeant McFarlane, when I listen to you talk, the only thing I'm thinking about the movie Fireproof. I don't know why. That's the only thing I'm thinking about. Those men, they get in there, firefighters, they're going to do their thing. Yeah, but great, man. I'm feeling so proud of each and every one of you. So we're hearing the audio, or we're having some audio problems here. So I'm going to kindly ask everyone to mute their microphones at this point in time. Let us see if that will eliminate the feedback. Thank you very much. All right, great. Welcome to Pastor White, Sister Joyce and Sayers. Oh, and by the way, to our students, if any one of you missed this, please read this wonderful note from Sister Teacher Joyce and Sayers. I don't know how many of you were her former students, but of course, well, I know Deron, she's seen Deron, and of course, Captain Cadogan, and I don't know, Sergeant McFarlane, were you a student too?
I can't remember this time.
All right, great. So, so hats off to you guys, and Pastor Sherwin White and Justin. Welcome to all of you. And Justin would have said, you know, blessing soldiers and all in the army of Christ. All right, great. So we still have to find out some other persons, their responsibilities. So let's go now to CW3 Britain.
Okay, CW3 Britain. My job is a technical advisor, a specialist in the maintenance field, and that's to include repairs of vehicles, weapons, anything that deals with a repair of an item that the military use. So I'm the technical advisor or the specialist in that field.
Beautiful.
Uh, uh, so I advise my superiors, my subordinates, and also my peers. So whatever problem that they're having with a piece of equipment or whatever problem they're having maintenance wise or anything, they come to me and I'm supposed to find that information and give it to them so that they can do their job better. So I'm just a technical advisor specialized
But
in
I don't like how you
maintenance.
end that sentence. I'm just a technical advisor. You have a big role there.
No, no, no. No, it is a big role. But it's a lot of us that does this, and I take my job seriously, and I work it with pride. And let me say one thing that I omitted: Sergeant Britton is my daughter.
Yes,
If you
yes.
guys didn't see the last name,
Yeah, I was to
all
make
right,
mention of that,
thanks.
and that point slipped me, you know. And even as I go right over to you, Sergeant Britton, for you to give your remarks in terms of your responsibility, I want you to answer us this question too. Is it that your father inspired you, hence you're where you are?
Yeah, so it was a huge part. As you guys know, my dad was active duty and he's been in the military, you know, majority of my life. So growing up around a lot of the around the military, it was definitely you can see the merits and you can see definitely like the just the overwhelming like sense of pride and overwhelming sense of like responsibility to duty that came from that. So absolutely, that was definitely. I knew I was joining the military before I was even eligible to join. I've always knew that was something that I wanted to do, something that I wanted to pursue. So it didn't even feel kind of like a shock to me that that's something that I decided to do. I felt myself building to that moment for a long time. I actually went to a military academy for high school, so it kind of built towards. I was building towards that even in high school. So for me, my role. So because I've had two jobs in the military, I'll just start. The first one I had was a truck driver. So yes, it's a very much so a male-dominated field. Even when I was going through training, it wasn't that many females that were around. So it was definitely a challenge to kind of prove prove that you can do the work and do the job just as well as a man. But it was also very rewarding because with my first unit in North Carolina Army National Guard, I was qualified to drive what's called a heavy equipment transporter, which is a HET, which is one of the heaviest vehicles you can actually drive in the military. So I got the opportunity to be a very small to enter a very small population of female soldiers that were qualified to drive a vehicle that big. And then when I transitioned to the DC Army National Guard, I actually got to work with my dad. So it was actually a blessing because where I was the operator, he was the maintenance manager. So it was definitely a blessing to have my dad be there on the technical side to help me on my side as an operator. So that was definitely one of the biggest blessings I've had being able to serve with my dad. And then when I transitioned to human resources, it was really based on the job. I started working in human resources. So I was able to align my human resources civilian job with my human resources position on the military side. And my responsibilities from there was just pretty much taking care of the personnel issues, the accessions, the promotions, the separations, all of the personal actions for my unit. And I was able to work on not only the company level, but I was able to work at the brigade level, which is one of the highest levels that I could work at in my field. And I was working at the brigade level prior to separating last year.
Beautiful. Oh my gosh. Wow. I don't know, Sergeant Britton, you may not have noticed because you were talking, but your father was smiling right through. I know he is so proud of you. I mean, being there, working with his daughter, being an inspiration to her. And man, commendations to you, Dad, for the role that you would have played in your daughter's life to actually inspire her to that extreme level. All right, good. So I want to say welcome to well, you have to help me understand what the GY stands for, Sergeant Johnson. So I know you missed the first initial part, but kindly introduce yourself to our audience, and you're going to tell us your role and your responsibilities also. Your microphone is muted.
There we go. Good evening, everyone. First off, it's really good to see so many familiar faces. My name is Daron Johnson. I'm a gunnery sergeant in the United States Marine Corps. This month will be 12 years of serving. I'll stay as long as they let me. I'm an administrator. I didn't really know nothing about the Marine Corps when I started, but I need a waiver to start, so my stepmom didn't want me to join, so I gave her the option of picking my job, and she chose that, and 12 years later, I'm still doing it. So my job entails personnel pay, entitlements, awards, anything that has to do with administration, really. Right now, I'm on Parris Island. I'm a drill instructor right now, training recruits to become United States Marines. I don't know what else, if I'm missing anything else.
Wow, thank you so much. And remind me what the GY stands for if I missed that.
The GY is the abbreviation for gunnery, so it's a gunnery sergeant.
Gunnery sergeant. All right, great. Thank you very much, gunnery. So what they call you, gunnery Sergeant Johnson?
Yeah.
All right, great. I'm so happy to see you again. Well, gunnery Sergeant Johnson. And I want to say go over to my audience. Hi, Andrew. Welcome to you, Teacher Melinda. Oh, I never knew this information. Andrew says here that, he was in the military too. Infantry Battalion Jaguar Company. Well, I don't even know what is that. That sounds like foreign language to me. Maybe.
No, that's directly for me. That's directly for me.
Oh. All right, good. So I'm gonna leave that right there. All right, thank you very much. So the other thing I want to know, because this is always a question on my mind, especially when I see women on the forefront. In terms of your training, while you were training, were there any moment you felt like quitting? And if you didn't quit well, of course you're here, so you didn't quit. Who or what encouraged you to keep going on?
I'm gonna go first with this one. So when I started the Officer Cadet program in 2012, there was only one other female and 36 men on my course. By week 4 because our cadet program is 1 year training, she ran away by week 4. So it was me and say 20 something odd men. However, there are different phases. By the time we would have gotten to the survival phase, Mokoro, so to say, there was myself and 16 men left. And I didn't know to swim when I started the Guyana Defense Force, when I enlisted. And so swimming was one of my biggest fears. And so prior to going to Mokoro, every day they would tell you you would have survival training. They would definitely train you for what to expect on the ground. But no matter how much they trained me and how much they told me, I was just afraid. So the weekend prior to getting to Mokoro, we had a weekend home and we were supposed to buy this long list of items to ensure that we were properly prepared for the 3 weeks or 4 weeks in Mokoro. I didn't buy anything because I had made up my mind I'm not going to go. I didn't tell my mother I wasn't going to go, but I had made up my mind I wasn't going to go. So I got back to the cadet school Sunday evening. Of course, my bag was empty. So the school sergeant major said, "Are you guys getting a feedback?" All right, let me try. Sorry. Can you hear me better now? Okay. So the school sergeant major said, "Woman Officer Cadet Cadogan, why you don't have your list of items?" I said, "Sergeant Major, I'm not going. I'm not going." So he called over the officer commanding of the school, Lieutenant Colonel Howard, and he said, "You spoke to your mother, because I think Johnson and my mother don't play. If you say you're going to do this, you have to stick with it. You can't jump out when you reach week 9 or 10. Anyhow, so my auntie called my mother and spoke to mommy and said, so Cadogan has decided that she is no longer going to continue the cadet program. So I stand there thinking, I'm an adult now, I already made up my mind. I'm not going. My mother, so they gave me the phone, and my mother was like, you decided you're not continuing the cadet course? I said, yes, mommy. So she said, well, clearly. And where you going? I said, Mom, you're coming home. She said, you're coming home? What do you mean you're coming home? No, you're coming home. When you come, you collect the site. This is month 9, and you have 3 more months to go. And you're going to give up in month 9. You don't deserve to come home. Stay with that. Wow. So I knew that I couldn't go home. So I had to continue, and here I am almost 9 years later.
You have any regrets?
No, I regretted it like a week after when they threw me overboard. But no, I didn't regret mommy saying, you're in month 9. It doesn't make sense for you to come.
I love that. I know even as I look at that Captain Cadogan is like, many times, even for our viewers right now looking, it might not be a military setting, but it might be some other thing you're experiencing in life. And, you're at a point when you feel like giving up. That is a time in which you will hold on. couple years down the line, you look back and you say, hey, I was so stupid. I wanted to give up. Like, I wanted to give up all of this. And I'm happy for mothers like you, who will go to the extreme.
The
But
funny thing is, right? The
Uh-huh.
only reason my male squaddy stayed is because I stayed.
Wow.
So if I'd gone home, they wouldn't have had anybody graduating that year. Like every
Wow.
day, the guys would look left and look right. Where's the female? Once I'm there, nobody's going home that day. I swear, it was so funny how they would just look to make sure I am there to not go home.
Girl, they said, I remember reading an article and they were talking about male dominated fields and, how women and organizations that were formed for males and how women, eventually came in. And then they made mention of a fact that as soon as women came in, things changed because the men are no longer focused as they should be. But you have a different reversal of the story as soon as the fact that you said the men became more focused and they were able to graduate. Girl, man, look, we are not always a distraction. We are sometimes an encouragement, to other males. So I know the males are concurring with what I'm saying, so it's good to know that. So back to the original question on the table, if there were moments that you felt like giving up, anybody else can begin speaking on that.
Good evening once again. So for me, there was not any moment that I felt like quitting, due to the fact because the instructors like Gunnery Sergeant Johnson there, they have a saying. They say that there's nothing that you can't do, never say you can't. And then they would also tell you, if you quit once, you're gonna feel comfortable quitting, so never quit. And so anytime I felt like I was like, all right, I'm not gonna do this because I don't want to develop that feeling of quitting. So personally, it might sound cocky, but I've never quit anything. I always push through. And then just like your squaddies, I would look to the person to the left and right of me and be like, all right, he's doing it. I could do this. If there was anything that made me want to quit, probably would have been the cold because I went to training in December and I was not accustomed to that. So that was it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Farlin. I'm noticing oh my god. I was just a gun sergeant man. Gun Sergeant Johnson just smiling. You wanna go next?
Yeah, because no, so for like the same thing for me. I've done harder things in Guyana than recruit training. For me was more mentally. So there wasn't no time during my training where I was like, man, this sucks, I want to quit. It never really occurred to me, but I seen a lot of my fellow recruits that were in the same boat that gave up. I've been to certain courses in the military though that I thought was like, man, this sucks, I want to give up. But I've always been able to finish. You mentioned women in the military, in the Marine Corps. It's our first female joined in 1918, and she started, and since then, we've had a lot of females in a lot of roles right now that is not conventional roles for women, but they've been excelling. Being able to be a drill instructor right now, I work with a lot of female drill instructors that are just phenomenal. I've been impressed by women that could outperform a lot of men in a lot of areas that are not like particular roles that you would think they would. But it's a different time we're in right now. The type of warfare is different right now. But initially, yes, it was taboo to see women doing certain things. Like even now, the standards are different in the military, and a lot of people have a problem with that. But I don't have any problem with that. It's pretty awesome to work alongside them. I've seen a lot of phenomenal. I've served a lot of phenomenal women, and it's pretty awesome to be around them a lot, especially being on the drill field when you could do certain things with them and enjoy and suffer at the same time. They say pain is weakness leaving the body, and there's no greater force of motivation to fight fear than struggling with a group of people who has the same aim.
Thank you very much, Gun Sergeant Johnson. Well, you see, and yeah, Sergeant Johnson, thank you very much for sharing that. All right, so we're gonna go over to all right, Chaplain, you ready to speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo some of the things that Gunnery Sergeant Johnson was saying, and before that, say something funny. You know, Gunnery, you're probably right across the street from me. So I work at the air station that's right down the road from Paris Island, and I really think I'm not 100% certain, but I really think you're right across the street from me right now. Anyway, the thing I wanted to emphasize, you know, that deals with suffering with somebody, having that bond, and not wanting to quit. So I never did that during, but Sergeant McFarland is talking about. We have this thing called the Marine Corps Martial Arts Program, and I did it all the way to Brown, but it's a program that is physical training intense. You do a lot of push-ups, a lot of things of that nature, and you wake up early in the morning to go do it. And certain time throughout that, you know, going up through various belt levels, you'd wake up in the morning and wonder, why am I doing this to myself? There's nothing that this. Why am I doing? But in the morning times when I'd get, the people would say, you know what, Chaplain, work. I got to do part as well, or Chaplain is out here being motivating. So I put myself through that page, was encouraging somebody, something that really meant a lot. Made my way through the
I love
belt
that.
levels.
I really love your story so far. Oh my gosh. As Pastor Sherwin White here shared this quote here that I would like to, you know, pain is weakness leaving the body. Yeah, yeah. And I think for our audience, if you haven't taken in anything this evening, put this one on your wall. Pain is weakness leaving the body. Yeah, it's very powerful indeed. All right, good. So we're gonna take Sergeant Britton. I recognize that you and your dad likes to speak together, and I love that. I'm seeing it, seeing the correlation. I'm seeing the relationship, you know, being put forward here this evening. So go right ahead, Sergeant Britton.
Yeah, so to answer the question about if there was ever a time that, like, during training that I wanted to quit, yeah, as soon as I got off the bus. In the shark, like I went to basic training in the dead of summer, and as soon as I got off like the bus, I was like, oh, I made a big mistake. What am I doing here? I had so many easier routes than going to basic training for you know, to join the military. I was in ROTC and things like that. So I was like, oh, I could have just stayed in ROTC and called it a day. But no, but one thing that definitely kept me from quitting. First thing was I recognized it was my choice to be here. So that was a big, powerful reason why I was like, this was my choice. I want to be here. And when I started seeing people around me quit, like that was even a bigger motivator to not quit, because when you see the people around you that decided to quit and sacrifice all the time, sacrifice everyone's time around you, because when one person quit, it doesn't just affect that person, it affects the entire team, because now you are one man down on your team. So it was really it was a more powerful motivator when I saw people quitting around me and having to wait to actually leave when they could have just kept going. Like we had one guy that quit in week 3, but did not leave us until week 7. So you look at from week 3 to week 7, was it really that bad that you couldn't continue on? And it was, I would say the biggest motivator for me was, it's my choice. I want to be here. Okay, I need to prove to my drill sergeant that I want to be here. And as the weeks went on, I actually became one of the like the platoon guys and things like that. I got more responsibilities from my drill sergeants because they saw that I wanted to be there and I was willing to do the hard work. Mind you, I wasn't the best recruit at the beginning, but trusting my drill sergeants and trusting the process and trusting that trusting the training, it made me into a better soldier as the weeks went on. And then I realized, like, all those ideas that had of quitting earlier really were just me it's just a mental thing. It really was me being in my head thinking that, oh, it's easier to quit. No, it actually wasn't easier to quit. It actually was a lot harder to quit something like that than it was to actually go through the process and go and come out on the other side and be a better soldier, be a better individual for the military. And that's one thing I was really, really grateful for, because I really saw, like, after the initial, like, of course, like breaking down of the individuality. And that's another thing I had a problem with. I was used to trying to be perfect, and I wanted to be perfect regardless of the people that were around me. And that was something that my drill sergeants had to work on me on, because it was about not being an individual. It was about being a team.
That's right.
And that was another thing that helped me to understand, like, I can't quit. I can't stop. I have to understand that it's not about me being an individual. It's about the team. And once I got that, everything else as far as training really went a lot smoother once I got that notion that, because I thought going to basic training and going this, it's about making me a soldier. No, it's not. It's more about, being able to be a soldier and not making me a soldier. So that's something that I definitely learned, and was definitely the moment that really helped and encouraged me to finish.
Mm-hmm. Wow, beautiful lessons. And viewers, once again, these are so applicable to our daily lives. I remember when as well as Seventh-day Adventists, we always have camps, eh? And Gunnery Sergeant Johnson, you will remember the days at Luke Creek. But I can remember a particular year, Hopeton was in one of the challenge. One of them required going up the hill, coming down, going on. It's like same kind of semi-soldier training, sort of. And women had to be on the team. The young girls had to be on the team. Pathfinders had to be on the team, and Master Guides. And I can remember one year in particular, was it Brianna? Brianna fell. And the guys on the team, I think it was Levon and Shaquille, anyway, two of the guys, they decided to lift her, because why? Hey, we're a team. We have to finish together. We don't care if you fall, but you cannot step out of this game now. You cannot. We are going to lose if you step out. So you see, when I was listening to Sergeant Britton, I remember that, because it showed the audience. They were amazed, because it wasn't no slim girl the guys were carrying. They would already struggle through their part, but they were not concerned about that. Hey, we are a team. We can't afford to leave anybody behind. And I think that is so, so important. And if we make that applicable to our daily lives, in our marital setting and our family setting, and even whether it be school or work, we will have more successful stories around. Over to you, CW3 Britain.
Oh man, talking about quitting. Oh, I think that's every day for me, and even up to today, I was speaking with my major, and I was like, you know what, man, I think I'm gonna wrap it up, But that's all talk, It's like a kind of motivation to say that no, I'm not finished yet. I'm not ready. But back in your mind, it's like a mind and body trying to talk to you, right? So the body is telling you that, look, you need to go. You need to give this up, right? And your mind is telling you, well, you're a fool to leave right now. You're having a whole lot of fun, right? So going back, I think it's about a few times that I asked myself, what am I doing? And the first time was basic training. When I got off that bus, it was a culture shock. You see guys that are younger than you are, talking smack to you, and all you want to do is just like, man, I'll go over there and slap you. But then, you get yourself in some trouble, right? So I got past that, and I was doing good. And one Sunday, I was in church. That was our getaway, right? Away from all the training and stuff like that. And I was in church, and this drill sergeant that was messing with me from day one, he's not in my company, he's not there. No offense, Darren, but he's not there or anything like that. And he just kept messing with me. And one Sunday, I was sitting up front in the pew and I was listening to the pastor preaching. And he came and he sat right next to me. And my old demeanor and my old day changed. I got up and I walked out the church. That was the biggest mistake I could have made in my life. He came outside and you know, I wanted to quit that same day, right? But I keep pushing on because it wasn't about me. It was about my family, right? I had a bigger calling than myself. So I got past that. The funny thing was, on my graduation day, I'm in my suit and everything, and here he comes walking to me. And I was like, oh, Lord, even the last day you won't leave me alone. And he came up to me and he was like, Private Britain. I was like, yes, drill sergeant. He said, you know what? You're gonna make it in this man's army. You're gonna excel in ways that you never believe that you can. Right? So I was like, well, why you said that? He said, man, I mess with you every day, trying to get you to quit, and you did not quit. You showed me there's something in you, right? That you don't even believe in yourself, but I believe in you. He said, watch how you're going to excel. And I tell you, so said, so done. I excel, and by the time I was 7.5 years in the Army, I was E6 promotable E7, the fastest moving enlisted guy you could find in the military, right? So that was like the first pseudo time. The next time I was in Korea, and it was winter time, and we were doing PT, and you know it's real cold, and the snot in my nose started freeze on my face, and I'm asking myself, what am I doing? Why am I here? Why am I in this cold where your snot freeze it up? You know, I was like, man, I gotta leave. No, I didn't quit, right? I think the next time, before Korea, I went to airborne school, right? And we started jumping out the planes and stuff like that. And I asked myself again, why am I jumping out of a perfectly good airplane when it could land and I could walk out, right? But again, right? I was like, no, I had an ultimatum. My sergeant told me, don't come back to the unit unless I have my airborne wings on. So with that ultimatum, quit or go through the process, you know? Went through the process, it got me to where I am today. No regrets, you know? It's like one of the best moves that I ever made in my young years of living. Would I do it again? Without any question. I love what I do. I would do it 1,000 times. And in fact, I have a son that is in the Air Force also. Wow. That is doing this also. So I'm enjoying myself. Quitting is no option. You know what I mean? It's not an option. When they're ready to tell me that, hey, you need to go, then I'll go on my merry way, enjoying my life. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
All right, thank you for the CW Britain. I love your sense of humor. I think if you haven't started doing it, you should go to schools and so use those talks to encourage persons, because I'm sitting here having a good laugh, but at the same time, I'm being encouraged by your story. Really.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, good. So what I want to know now, I mean, we can't always quit base ourselves on the sad things, but I want each one of you to share with me your most memorable happy moment. Well, not necessarily happy. Let me just change that. Your most memorable experience from your field. Please
So
share.
I can go first.
Go right ahead.
So actually, my childhood, my favorite memory from serving. Actually, it was during my truck driving days. One thing about being a truck driver is that you're always on the move. Like you're always going different places. And I got to drive a tractor trailer from Texas to California. And that was probably my favorite mission that I ever did, not only because of like what we did on the mission, but just being able to like really put all those years of like learning and knowing my job to the test on a extreme like road trip almost. 5 days to get from Texas to California and back. And I had never ever driven that long in my field before. And being able to see the change of scenery, being able to do my job. And I actually led the convoy half the time. So I was the first truck setting the pace, setting the route and everything. And that was actually really fun. My dad was actually down with me at that time. He didn't go on that mission particularly with me, but to have that kind of security behind it as well, that no matter what happens while I'm gone, like my dad is like here, my dad is on, here with the mission as well. But that was probably my favorite, just because of the it really pushed being a truck driver to the limit for me, as far as the payload, like having that very heavy payload, the distance, going back in time, like going through a different time zone and back and such. It was really it was honestly my favorite mission I've ever done. I've never done anything else like that. And I normally tell people, yes, I was a truck driver, but you don't realize, like, when you're a truck driver, just understand you're on the move. You get to go see different things. You don't have to be a stationary employee just seeing the same things around you. So that for me was that. I love to travel. Traveling is probably one of my favorite things to do. So to be able to incorporate that into my military position and be able to go, I had never seen that part of the United States ever. So to be able to see a different part, like the American Southwest, seeing sand dunes, tumbleweed, and I mean, it was really a different change of pace and a different change of scenery that I had never done before. And most National Guard soldiers don't get to do those kind of missions. So I was really blessed to be able to get on a mission like that as a National Guard soldier as well. So that was my favorite one.
Thank you very much, Sergeant Britton, for sharing that. I just want to go over to my audience a bit to say welcome to Miss Southwell. Hi, Renisha. Well, Runjeli. I don't know whose relative is this, but it's good when your relatives can support you. So proud of my brother, my niece, and my cousins. Military strong. I noticed that Captain Kodong was like, I'm trying to figure out who that is. Who is she talking about? Who is he or she talking about? But yeah. But thank you for the commendations on behalf of the relatives that you have on board, that we don't know who exactly they are, but they're all smiling right now. All right, good. And of course, to Sister Lucilda McCalman. Yeah, Stacy, Captain Kodogan, when you have your villagers supporting you all the way, I mean, it says a lot. The aunt of
cousins.
Exactly. The aunt of Gunnery Sergeant Johnson. Yeah, it's good. This is the first time I actually see Sister Lucilla commented. So this says a lot, that she is really supporting you guys here. All right, great. So back to you, my loving guests.
Again, I'll go now. So in my current field, one of the most memorable moments I've had is just a few months back. It was a State of the Union address, and my mission was to be in the Capitol building, just in case something does happen with my team. And it was just like a aha moment, because I was in the building and the President of the United States was downstairs addressing the nation. The Vice President, wife, a bunch of other politicians came by, shook my hand. At the time, I don't know some of these people because I don't pay attention to politics as much. But the Secret Service guard next to me, he's just like, yeah, you know who that was? And he's like telling me all these people. And I'm just like, Damn, just a few months ago, I was in the streets in Guyana playing ball, and now I'm here in this building that I saw on TV all the time with these guys that I saw in movies, working with them, and it was just like, wow. And that's like something I think was very memorable for me right now.
Wow, beautiful. I love that. I love that. Captain Cadogan, I think you were preparing to go next.
Actually, I wasn't, but okay. So I think my most memorable moment was in 2015. As Shibiki would have mentioned, the inauguration of President David Granger. So what happened is that there was a morning ceremony. If anybody was following it, there was a morning ceremony and there was an afternoon ceremony. So the morning ceremony, it rained, but we were still out there. However, the Durban Park was packed. However, the afternoon ceremony, when we stepped into the National Stadium, we literally couldn't hear the commands that were being called. So you could have only followed what you knew is supposed to happen. You couldn't hear what was going on. You just followed the steps. You just followed what you knew was supposed to happen from rehearsals. And I didn't even know that I had made social media until somebody tagged me. So when I came off the field, I couldn't even recognize my own mother. The song was so deafening. I couldn't hear anyone. My entire family was there and I couldn't hear anyone. And that was the first time we had done. We usually do drills for Independence Parade, Republic Parade. But that was the first time, even though I'd been on every single parade since I was commissioned till 2015. That was the first time I had done a silent drill with my platoon of females. And it was the best feeling ever.
Yeah.
To know that out of all the officers, you were chosen. Not chosen once, but chosen twice, morning and afternoon, to represent the Women's Army Corps. It was wonderful.
I'm feeling your joy within my heart. I'm really feeling it. Yeah, I was really proud of you guys that day. I don't know. It was a different feeling altogether. I don't know in the history of Guyana if we will ever get that feeling back, especially for persons who were there, if we will ever get that back. But it was like a highlight for me that's so historic. I've been to parades, but I've never experienced anything like that. So commendations again to the team of persons for that particular year. So we're gonna take the 3 men remaining. Go right ahead. Either one of you can begin. I don't want to be set up like the last time when I thought Stacy was about to put on her microphone before Sergeant McFarlane spoke, So I'm gonna leave it this time.
Ella.
All right, I guess I'll go. Being in the military for 24 years, you have so many memorable moments. But the biggest one for me was I was deployed and I was returning home, and it was a payback, right? I was returning home, and we had this table tennis board, and this one guy, I beat him every day at table tennis. So on my last day in country, he decided that he wanted to play, and we played for about 2 hours or more. And while we were playing, I kept telling him that, hey, I need to go finish backing. And he keeps stalling me. And as I looked, I saw they started coming with a lot of drinks. And mind you, we're in country, everything is limited. The only thing that you could get was some sodas and some chips and so on. And as I kept playing, I saw a lot of people coming over to the area where we were. And there were a lot of tables and stuff like that there, and people started taking drinks and food and so on. And I kept playing. So my first sergeant walked by, and I was like, First Sergeant, like you have a party for someone today. She said, there you go. You like to mind people business. Keep on playing. So I was like, no, man, there's a party. Who's the party for? She was like, there you go, game. So all this while, it is distracting me because there are people that are arriving that drove 2 to 3 hours from where they're stationed to come to my going away stop, which I didn't know. So after a while, after everyone was seated, my first sergeant called me over. He's like, Sergeant Britton, come here. And right away I was like, oh no, you guys not doing this to me. Oh no. And I tried to walk away because I'm a shy guy, and I tried to walk away. And they brought me in front of a group of about, I say roughly about 50 people or so. And as I stand there, everyone started to speak on the impact that I had on their lives. Right? There's this one particular female soldier that I used to mess with her every day because she always used to look depressed and stuff like that. You know, I knew she was always worried and so on. So I used to walk up to her and I used to be, hey, I need my package that you have under your cot in your room. Bring me my package right now. And she used to go off and she used to start laughing and so on. So I never really, I was just messing with her to me. But she was like, hey, Sergeant Britton, you just didn't know how many days, right, that you brightened up my day. You took me out of that slumber. I don't know what my day would have been. I used to sit right here and I used to wait for you to come because I know you're going to say some stupid stuff that's going to get me laughing, right? You had other sergeants and so on that they're missing the kids and so on. That I used to just talk and just used to talk a whole lot of madness to them, not knowing that my madness was brightening up their day. And to sit right there, or to stand right there, and everyone regurgitate the impact that you had on their life in country, away from their family, and so on. That when it was my turn to speak, I couldn't speak. Right? I got really, really emotional. And I tell that story to this day to some of my peers and subordinates and so on, just to show a correlation in how you, as a person not knowing, how you saying certain things and doing certain things impact someone's life. That you, oh man, so that was my memorable moment, one of them, that I like to share.
Thank you very much for that. You know, many of the times we go about our lives and we don't realize. Sometimes we just behave like we don't care. But there is something that we learned in college, you know, as teachers called the hidden curriculum, whereby our students will observe us and, you know, they can learn so many things from us that we didn't teach them. But because of our actions, and it could be positives or positive attributes or negative attributes. And you know what you shared there, and that is why it's so pivotal for each and every one of us as we conduct our daily lives, even members of the audience. Let us be mindful. We don't know how we are going to either deter people or we're going to really and truly encourage individuals from our actions. And sometimes we will never get to know how we would have touched their lives. Some of them will tell us sometime down the road, but the point is, let's try to be positive as much as possible so that our energies can roll on to others and they can be blessed. So over to I think Chaplain Lawrence. Well, I know for sure you placed your mic. You had your microphone on. So
I did. I did. What I wanted to share was as part of my most memorable experiences was the access. I want to say, I want to tell you, I'm wearing two different collar devices. One shows my rank, and then one has the cross because I'm a chaplain. The access that I want to say, that spaces where you'd never think you'd be able to go to. First command, I was given the opportunity to say, hey, some of our officers are going up for a submarine ride. Oh, chaplain, we're here. Sure, I don't know when I'm ever going to get this opportunity again. For 3 days straight, we were underway on a submarine, and I didn't sleep because I never knew when I was going to get that opportunity again. So I would faces ask them, sometimes you might think top secret, maybe I shouldn't. Oh no, chaplain, come in. And so I got that access to various spaces where I do different things. But one of the most amazing, on the way back, up to what was called, the submarine is on the surface. I'm up to the top and just see the water flow sides of the submarine. But I was also able to see the dolphins jump along, going, and it was just an experience. Next thing that happened at night, I mean, you might think you might go out into the farthest, deepest part of the country where there isn't light pollution, but the sky over the sea at night is just an awesome experience. So those are among my most memorable experiences that I had in the military.
Thank you for sharing those experiences. I don't know, dolphins. They're my babies. I love them so much. I don't know. I never get tired reading articles upon articles how they interact with humans, and how they're the closest water animal to humans, and I just love them. And anytime, whenever I think once I had the opportunity when I was in Canada to see them, but just like see like one, but I can just envision what you would have seen on that venture. So over to you, Gunnery Sergeant Johnson.
It's just as everyone is speaking, I'm like thinking what I'm gonna say, because it's certainly been a lot of experiences that I've had that is very memorable. I have two experiences in particular. The first one was I was in Thailand. I was stationed in Thailand for like a little while, and they kind of had a flood out there, and we were distributing like food and like emergency supplies to these guys, and it felt pretty good because like you see people going through some kind of the same struggle that you were familiar with growing up, and you're like, man, it felt good, or it feels good to be able to support in that kind of capacity. Cortavia, Britton, as you was speaking about your experience, your being in a convoy. That job ain't easy because I've been in a lot of convoys, and we know what happens if a truck breaks down or something happens. So that's pretty awesome that you was able to lead in that capacity. That's pretty awesome. My second experience is on my current assignment right now as a drill instructor. It's like you find those recruits that that you just want to be after, that you just want to quit, you just want to be on them, even if they're in church. Like there's nowhere that they could go. They're always there, and they know that you're always there. But there was this one particular recruit that I have, recruit Mackey. He's not built like anything special. He's like this little skinny, scrawny white kid that doesn't look like he belongs nowhere. And the entire cycle, everyone on my team, in my company, like was really trying to get this guy to quit. And many times he almost quit. And our senior was like, hey, no, you're not going to go nowhere. We're going to keep training you. So he tried to quit a few times, but our senior like kept him. And then eventually, like throughout the third half of training, it's like coming towards the end, like, I don't know what happened, but like this kid that everyone was trying to see quit just became something else. He found himself or something like that. But he just became the platoon itself. Like he became stronger than everyone else, louder than everyone else, faster than everyone else, and then everyone was just on his side at that point, pretty much. And it just kind of changed my mindset towards how I would conduct myself as a drill instructor. I see people for their individual struggles. I don't judge no one because of their opportunity, because we've had a lot of kids that come and they look like they should be able to be, and then as soon as they get off the bus, now with the state of the country right now, we have a lot of kids that go through a lot of different stages, and some of them quit even on their way to training. But this guy, when everyone was after him, trying to get him to quit, when he tried to quit, and I follow him in the fleet right now. He's doing a lot of great things in the Marine Corps, and it's definitely changed my mindset towards how me and my team, we conduct business. We actually give everyone the opportunity to train, and we try at all costs to train them. And then it's great to see whenever they find themselves or they find the encouragement to continue training. So Mackie now his family calls him Mac Attack. He's doing pretty well. He's a infantryman right now, and it's pretty awesome. So I've done a lot over my career, and I've been able to experience a lot of highs. But on this current tour, being a drill instructor, being able to develop the future of the Marine Corps, graduating a platoon of recruits that's going to replace you is like one of the most fulfilling things that I've ever done.
Wow. And you see, audience, let us just stop judging a book by its cover. Eh? We never, ever know. You know, like Captain Cadogan, even as a teacher, sometimes you look at some students and in your mind, I don't know if it happened to you, but in your mind, you're like, this child. But you don't want to say anything out loud to discourage them. And then at the end of the term, they bring a report card, or the end of exams, CXC exams, and you're like, thank you, Jesus. I did not tell this child anything that I thought that was in my mind, perhaps sometimes based on how they were behaving. Thank you. I just kept my mouth shut. I'm here to tell that child congratulations now. And I think it's a very important lesson for each and every one of us. So we would have dealt with your words as we coming down to our last two questions. I want you to tell me about where we dealt with your memorable experience, and listening to you, all of you had positive, memorable experience. So what I want to know now, can you tell us one of your worst experience as a veteran? I am just putting on my seatbelt for this one here. And yeah, so over to you guys now.
I can go. I can say that I'm really blessed to not have any bad experiences as it relates to like my primary job, and as it relates to like what I did in the military and things as such. The only experience that I felt I ever felt like kind of why am I here was actually in my previous unit, in which they didn't see females as good drivers, no matter how good of a driver you thought you were. And when I came home from my advanced individual training, or my technical training, I graduated with honors from that. I graduated with honors. And when I came to the unit, they pretty much was like, "Oh, that can't be possible. You're a Black girl and you're a girl, and that's just not possible." I had someone literally tell me it's not possible that you got honor grad. And not even like a couple of months later, another white male came to our unit with the same honor grad that I had, and he got an Army Commendation Medal, a coin from the sergeant major, the battalion sergeant major, and they just kind of put him on a pedestal. And I was like, really? Wait a minute. Not only did I have better, I had the same exact thing. I even had better scores on my HEC training that I went to like right after I came to the unit, that kind of proved that I can do this work. And that kind of it just became when I brought that up to my leadership, and they was just kind of like, oh well, there's nothing we can do about it because you should have we should have put the recommendation in as soon as you came back from AIT. Hey, it's a couple of months later, it's not really it will now seem as if you're trying to it's a tit for tat. That's what they told me. They said it would seem more of a tit for tat that I'm trying to compete against someone who had the same credentials that I did. And that because he got something that it was just like, well, why do you want the same thing he had? Why don't you just work for it? And I'm like, well, what did I need to do differently? And that kind of hung as a shadow over me for the entire time I was in that unit, because then I got seen as the person that complained about not getting the same treatment as someone else, but I'm a woman, I want the same treatment. That kind of been that it kind of turned and it just got more and more sour. And it was definitely one of the main reasons I left that unit. And it was just it just hung as a shadow over me, and it made me not be able to bond with them properly, like you would want to bond with your team. So like I said, it was never anything as far as my training or anything as far as my job. It was more so it was just the personnel that I had to trust as my leadership that kind of was like, oh, don't complain, because I was in a very white male unit, and it was like, oh, don't be that black girl that complained. Don't be that person. Don't be this person. Don't be that person. Just be here. And and that kind of just showed me okay, you can be a soldier, you can be this, but there's still barriers to even being, we're all supposed to be green, but there was still barriers to that because I was a black female in a very male dominated field. And I did not know until I got to the DC Guard that my credentials that I had when I came home were actually good for 3 years. I could have gotten an award up to 3 years after receiving that honor grad certificate. And I had got to the DC Guard right over that 3rd year. And so DC Guard were kind of like, oh, had you got here earlier, it would have been perfect. But now they're like, wow, we had no idea you never got a commendation for that. And I just felt bad because I'm like, okay, well, now I feel even worse because I'm like, all this time I let 3 years go by thinking that I couldn't be that person to complain. I couldn't be, because I want to be a part of the team, so I can't complain. So that was probably the worst experience that I've had, as far as just in my time in service altogether.
I am feeling that one. I'm really, really feeling that one. I really wish we can, to our males on the platform and even to our males in the audience, I wish that women can reach a point whereby we can break over that ceiling. There's we now reaching there. No matter how much we try, we achieve. It's I don't know. I'm in a male-dominated field too, so I know exactly what you're talking about. I just hope, I don't know when it will happen, but I just hope one day we can be recognized for not pushing our way, but just for what we would have achieved rightfully and truthfully.
So that's the problem.
I would say, after I left that unit,
the ceiling, it's recognition that you've broken it.
Yes.
Well, that's true.
All the time. It's just that yours isn't equal to mine, which is nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say when I changed my unit, that I saw a huge when I went to my new unit, it really does depend on the people. That's when I realized, it was just that unit, because my drill sergeant thought I was great, my training instructor thought I was great. It was just this one pocket of this little, and nowadays it just seems so insignificant. That one pocket of personnel that thought differently, because when I went to a new unit, I went from thinking that I could not be everything to excelling and having people excelling and giving me the opportunity to change my job and go into a new career field, because they knew that based on the career field I did prior that I would excel going forward. And I was seen as that investment. And that's something I would definitely say, and that's why I say that's probably the work experience. And and even now, even though, yes, I think of it now, yes, it's significant because I should have been like, you think like I would have loved to change their minds. The way I changed their mind was just trying to be better than what they expected of me. And that, but when I realized when I moved units that I was doing over and beyond what I really should have been doing, just because I wanted to be seen in a different light. So I will say when I changed my unit, changed my environment, I really started enjoying being in the military, because I think if I would have stayed with them, I would have got out way sooner than what I currently have.
Thanks for sharing that experience with us.
All right, I think I'll go because I have to go and do something quickly. Mine was the night or the morning that I thought I was at the pearly gates. It was so happened that we were jumping, right? And it was about 2 o'clock that morning that we came out of the aircraft. And when I came out, my parachute did not open up the way it's supposed to. So I started to spin, and I'm spinning coming around very fast. So I snapped and I pulled my reserve parachute. The parachute went out and it came back and it wrapped me up in a ball. The only thing that I remember doing is saying, God, please help me. Right? And I hit the floor. I hit the ground real hard. And I lied there maybe for a good 3 to 4 minutes or something like that. And I saw a lot of I saw flashlights coming. So I'm thinking that I'm at the pearly gates because all I can see is lights. I can't move. I can't do anything. And the lights is coming straight to me. So as I lie there, these guys came and they rolled me out of the parachute. And then they were like, oh man, it's Britton. We thought you were dead. Right? So I was like, don't touch me, don't do anything. I stood up and I fall flat on my face again because my body was so in shock, was so weak that I couldn't stand, I couldn't do anything. When I think it took me about another 2 to 3 minutes to really regain my composure and stuff like that. When I looked to the left, I landed maybe about 10 feet away from some vehicles, and I landed on the road itself. I was supposed to be in the middle of the drop zone, and I landed on the road, right? So, and in talking with these guys and stuff like that, they started to describe to me the way they saw me coming down. You know, they were like, man, we just know that you burned in. We just know that you were done. But I think by the grace of God that I was able to put in that last bit of prayer that Lord help me, and boom, I hit the floor. So I'm here today to say that God is good and he's good all the time, and he's able to take care of you no matter what situation that you find yourself in. I think that the other time for me was we were coming back in a convoy, and we took on some gunfire, and they were missing, right? And instead of me just driving or just staying calm, I started to laugh, right? And my boss, he was like, what the hell wrong with you? We're taking fire. Why are you laughing? And I'm like, they're missing, sir, they're missing. And I tell you, by the time I got back to base, there was a message for me from my deputy commander. She wants to see me. So I showed up. I was like, how you doing, ma'am? Going up all jovial and stuff like that. And she read me the Royal Act. She said, I'll tell you what. anytime you're gonna move from this building to that building, you have to come and get my permission. I said, why? He said, because you crazy. You know, you taking gunfire and you laughing. Whereby everyone else were scared. You were just laughing. I don't know what happened to me, what was inside of me, or what the case may be. But that was my only reaction. And I can tell you, until that day that I left base, I was never afforded the opportunity to leave again. I was stuck, you know, because she's like, you're not moving, you're not going anywhere until I give you that permission. So, guys, it was nice. I hope we do it some other time, but I have something that I have to go and do right now. So, thank you all there on Chaplain, Captain Cadogan, Sergeant McFarland. I think you're not too far away from us, man. I'm on JBAB, right? So anytime you come on JBAB, right across from the garages,
Yeah.
that's my building right there. Step in, just ask for Chief Britton. I'm right in the office, man. Come see me and let's catch up and, you know, start doing some great things, man.
Will do, definitely, sir.
All right, take care, guys.
Thank you so much for coming on. It was a pleasure meeting you.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye. Wow, what a story. What a story. Come on, stay, Captain Cadogan, you know, I have to call on you because for those of you who know her, she likes to laugh a lot. So I thought of you right away when I listened to that story, you know, serious thing going on and you laughing, you know. But anyway, life is about having fun, eh? I remember once in my college days, one of my matron was talking to me and she thought it was serious, but I was like, okay, you fretting, but right now, you gonna change my mood. And I laughed and she was so annoyed. If that woman could have taken something and hit me that day, she would have done it. But I understand, but that's the seriousness with the military. So those of you who are desirous of joining, be very careful. So over to the let's continue with the discussion on this question before we take our final question for this evening. So your worst experience.
Hi. So one of my worst experience that I would say I'm dealing with currently is dealing with the coronavirus. We all know what's going on. Currently, like when leaves are getting denied, all plans throughout the year are getting canceled myself. But the biggest thing is I'm the supervisor of these Marines, and then I have to tell them, hey, you cannot go home. This is why. And then they would look around and be like, oh, but my friend's over here, and his unit is letting him going on. What's going on? And our job, we do an active, inactive period. So like my platoon is active, so we're in the response. So we cannot leave the area first.
Wow.
So now it's our time to get off and go wherever we have to go see your family and all of this stuff. And start being denied. Them, quarantine for 2 weeks for Thanksgiving. There's just like in like the military, just dealing with the coronavirus. There's some stuff that the leaders think, oh, that's more important. You have a Marine that would see that as not important, but it's just trying to make you understand this. There are some stuff. There's no explanation, man. Just what it is. I feel like this and one of the worst times I've had because it's something that I can actually. So it's just what it is currently.
I just hope one day that you guys can really and truly get to go home and, you know, see your family very soon. Hopefully that is, you know. All right. Thank you for sharing that experience.
Hey, I think I've had many sad experiences, but I think I don't think it's worse, but what I can remember offhand right now is that back in 2015, we were doing a huge recruitment drive. So what happened is that I had to recruit like 500 basic recruits, and they wanted like 60 regular standard officer cadets and like another 60 reserve officer cadets. And this recruitment was running concurrently. And So say I have a staff of probably 7, 8, but that is inadequate to man those 3 stages because usually we have one recruitment going on, one stage of recruitment at a time. Even if they happen after the other, we never have our BRC with SOC. So there was this recruit that had written the test, and there's usually an initial interview, and he had failed the initial interview. At that point, I did not know that his family was related to anybody in politics or government at the time. Nevertheless, usually when you come out of the interview room, I have 2 letters, a recommended and a not recommended. Based on what the chairman's comments are, I pass him the recommended or not recommended so that he can sign. So when you leave the room, I'm the person that give you the go or the no go letter. And this recruit came out and he was not recommended. So I gave him the letter that was signed by the chairman of the board. I am usually the secretary of the board, by the way. I do all the work. They're usually a different panel of officers who interview you and whatever. I gave him this not recommended letter. It was a Thursday. And the Friday afternoon, anybody that know Burbicians know that Friday afternoon by 3 o'clock, we want to leave the office so that we can catch the Burbies bus. By 3 o'clock, I had already sent home my staff. It was just me and there's one staff dealing with officer cadets. And I got a call from my boss's boss. And she was called by her boss's boss, which was the commander-in-chief at the time. Friday afternoon after 3, you get a call about some recruit that you failed. I failed at the interview. And I had to produce a report on this recruit. Now, I am dealing with over 1,000 recruits. Yes, I do remember names and faces. But the problem at that point in the afternoon is that we had interviews on the Thursday and on the Friday. It's 90 persons per day. I couldn't find the file, and all my staff had gone home. I couldn't find the file to write the report. And I'm there at 6. I'm literally painstakingly checking every single file I could find in this entire building to find this one recruit file to write this report. But I didn't find it the Friday. So I had to stay in Georgetown. This Saturday afternoon, about 2 something, I found the file. I wrote the report. I explained that, based on the recruit interview, you're required to read a paragraph and do simple math problem or 2 math problem, and these are problems based on what you would have done on the entrance exam. My unit is not responsible for marking nor administering the exam. The recruiter claimed that I told the panel that he failed the exam, which he did, but there's usually a remedial stage between 50 and 40% that we accept persons. And he had gotten like 43%. But I am not responsible for marking, nor is my unit, nor preparing a spreadsheet or anything. I just received these results from another unit and I produced it to the board. So he had explained to his relative, who was in parliament at the time, that Lieutenant Cadogan at that time had told him he can't join GDF. and I cried. I cried because how my peers were behaving is as though I was responsible for someone not getting a job and that I will lose my job by accident. Which
Wow.
was really saddening because I am someone who usually go beyond the call of duty to ensure that I try to help persons as much as I can. If someone fails the recruit test and I see, listen, he failed, right, he or she knows math or English, but they don't know the other, I would ensure that I get a teacher or a soldier to teach you just so that you can pass this exam to get a job, because I understand how hard it was. But this one recruit lied on me, and I felt like this is it,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to write 3 reports because when I wrote the initial report, I was sent back a response, and then I had to produce some more documents. Then this
Wow.
audit had to produce the exam results, had to produce their results. Then the chairman of the board had to indicate that this is not the force's recruitment duty. I pass or fail a recruit. And that is how I'm captain today. Because I don't think I would have made it had they totally believed my word against the recruit's
Yeah.
word. So I don't ever want to, and this is something we face as a society in Guyana, a person with links,
Yeah.
being given opportunities over persons that qualified, persons who would have met the standard. And I am one person that I get totally annoyed when persons do not meet the standard and we waive those standards to employ persons, because I've seen it over and over.
Yes.
Always end up to be the worst employee.
True.
It's 1 in a million that person turns out to be a good employee. But because they have entered your system with a sense of privilege, they don't ever turn out to be the best officer or a good officer or a good soldier. And
Yeah.
that's something that plagues our society, and I wish it goes away.
Yeah.
Thank you.
As I listen to you, Captain Cadogan, I know that story is still deep rooted in your heart. As I listen to your tone and everything, and I do hope that even the persons who are listening, let fear be fair. I mean, I've seen that happening a whole lot. Just the connection, it goes, somebody just call and say, hey, do this, and I mean, I don't even want to be in your position in that particular arena doing that, but it happens a whole lot all over. So quickly, we just have about 2-3 more responses, and then we're going to close with our final question.
I'll go next. Stacy, that happens in the Marine Corps as well. They got legacy recruits that come in and whose dads or granddads or family has served forever, and then they're treated different. It's just kind of the way the system is. So that happens over here as well. But one of the moments that I've had is I was stationed in Jersey recently, and my unit was responsible for like funeral honors. And like I said earlier, my job was my job is administration. So I remember this one recruit Gomez, doing his audit. Part of the Marine Corps is that every 3 years you do a financial audit. And I was doing his, and he was going through his record of emergency data, which kind of says how pretty much your life insurance policy. And he didn't have his at the time, and I was going over that with him and telling him how important that piece is to make sure that he gets it done. And he's a reservist, so they only come in like twice a month or so. So this on a weekend he came in. So he came in like a Friday. I'm doing this audit on that day. He spends the drill week and then he goes home. And the next during that same week, he gets killed in a car accident trying to save someone else who had crashed previously. And the worst part about that is just seeing if you're in the military, they give you a full honors funeral, which means that you're in the same uniform, and usually you'll have honor guards there as well. So usually the honor guards will be standing by the casket of the service member that's deceased, and it's very emotional to see someone that you literally did their audit like a few weekends ago, laying there unresponsive in the same uniform that you have there. And I've said, and because I mean, by that point, I had probably done 90 something funerals, so I was kind of exposed to the sadness of death. But like this one was different because it was a only child. He was firstborn. Well, he was a only child, and the most emotional person at the funeral was the dad, because usually fathers are not that emotional, but he would go from like he would speak to his son as if he was still alive, and he would go from English to Spanish, and then in bursts of sadness. And just I would look at the Marines just standing by the casket, just breaking down because it was that emotional. So we had about probably 15, 20 Marines that would switch out every 20 minutes on duty, because we'll have to stay there until the body goes through the cemetery. So we had to cut the time down from like an hour to about 10 to even 5 minutes at a time, because Marines would not be able to keep their composure standing by the casket as he was laying there. So while I did many funerals and honor guard ceremonies, that was the hardest, because literally a few days earlier we spent updating his information, and then now he died trying to save someone else's life, and then seeing him laid there was definitely rough. And that's probably one of the saddest things that I've had to do, is laying to rest someone that I know, someone that I was close with in the same uniform that I had. That kind of made me come to terms with life and death, and just being a basic human, like basically a good person, because you don't know when your time is going to come. So that was kind of one of the hardest things that I've had to do so far.
Thank you very much. That is never easy for any one of us to understand and comprehend. And until it hits home, you went to 90 something funerals and didn't really feel it. But until it hits closely home, then it's when we really recognize, what to experience. All right, over to you, Chaplain.
All right, I wasn't as here to share my just as sad as Gunny Johnson's last command. Fortunately, there's high stress nuclear operators, and unfortunately, the people to resort to suicide. One of the saddest memories was one of our students had died, and we were going to memorial normally do, and sometimes more it doesn't travel in memorial, but this time the sailor's father and said no, he wants to be there. And so normally with the gets put, they will have someone that will do the presentation of the I did and everything like normal, but they said, hey, Chaplain, because senior officer doing the memorial, we want you to also present the flag. And there you a moment going, I don't, but there's just, hey, I'm doing this is normal, just one for the family, and very honored to being the one that's actually presenting the flag to the father, who just a few months before, all he knew was, hey, celebrating my son joined the United States. He's going to go off training, and I'm home. That was the last time. So as I'm presenting the flag, President of the United States, it was an experience to look at the eyes and say, I'm sorry, the last time you saw him off, and now you won't see him again. That was something I don't relive anytime soon. That was one of among the worst.
Mm-hmm. 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 Thank you for sharing that with us too. You know, even as we wrap up, I just want to briefly, if you can, if you had to encourage someone to join the forces, you know, this is interesting. I really want to hear your responses here because everybody's in different. They would have served differently. So if you had to encourage someone to join the forces, and I'm going to say this: don't be biased because you're part of it. Eh? Which one would you recommend and why?
Okay, so I'll go first. So the reason why I'm going first because I am not going to recommend my own branch. So as my father mentioned, my little brother, who is also Courtney Britton, is in the Air Force. So he unfortunately he's out today, so he couldn't be here. So my brother, so when I decided to join the Army, I went to my dad, and my dad was like, "No, you got to join the Air Force. You got to join the Air Force." I was like, "Yeah, but it's more, it's more like, I'll see more like tough and hard charger if I go Army than Air Force. Like, of course, like I was like, so I actually had Marine Corps at first. Like, my very first recruiter was from the Marine Corps. I had everything to go. But when it was time to give up my high school diploma, my mother would not give it to me. So that actually stopped me from going into the Marine Corps. So I was like, okay. I went to college, my freshman year of college. I was like, I'm going to go into the Army, like I said I was. And I went to my registrar and got a copy of my transcript and took it to the recruiter, and that's how I was able to get into the Army. But my brother came to me and said, he said, Tay, I really want to join the Army. Can you hook me a recruiter? I said, absolutely. I can hook you up with the best Air Force recruiter that I can find here on the planet. And he was like, I don't want to do Air Force. I want to be like you and Dad. I want to go Army. I was like, no. And here's the reason why. As an HR civilian, I work for the Army and the Air Force. I do Army and Air Force hiring. And one thing I have noticed is that the Air Force really set their airmen up for a civilian life afterwards. Everything that you do in the air side corresponds to a college credit. They do like community college of the Air Force, like certificate of their training. It feels as if the Air Force always has the funds to send their personnel, just my brother has 3 years in. He's been to Korea. He's been to Poland. He has been all over the place. In his job field, he's an aircraft ordnance systems repair. So he's a bomb repairer. And being a bomber repairer, but being able to travel the world and get all of that experience, have them to take care of him, and have so much behind him. I have only seen that come from Air Force airmen. And I feel like the Air Force airmen, like the Air Force really try to set their people up to be able to transition into civilian life fairly easier than I've seen from any of the other. Now, the second branch I would say is Army, and then delineating down. I would just say delineating down from Army, of course, second branch. But I would definitely say, if anyone were to ever join the service, United States Air Force is definitely the best one I have seen, and definitely the one that I encourage people if they have the credentials. The Air Force is not easy. It is not the easiest service to join, but if you are able to get in, it is one of the best places for you to be as far as Air Force, and like I said, we have so many Marines will call, so I won't beat a dead horse too much, but I encourage my brother to do that, and he has been doing phenomenal ever since. I really do, I just thank God for the way he's able to do his service and be able to serve the way he has, and just feel like I don't have to worry about my brother. I don't have to worry about him. I know at the end of the day that he made the right choice. And if he ever decides, because he said he wants to be an Army officer, so I'm like, if that's what you decide to do, as long as you got this Air Force stuff under your belt, you'll be good to go moving forward. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Robert Sergeant Britton. So we have one down. We have Air Force down. Okay, let's see as we go along. Mhm.
All right, so I actually tried to get my little brother to join the Air Force, but my little brother doesn't. You know, he's not built like that. He's not. He's not. He's never wanted to do anything like that. So, but I'm very biased to the Marine Corps. I'm very, very extremely biased to the Marine Corps. Why? Because when I joined, I knew nothing about the Marine Corps. My entire family has military in it, but and going through Pathfinder Club and all that stuff, I was kind of being trained in that way, anyways. But no, the Marine Corps to me gives you the. I mean, I guess any other branch gives you the same kind of intangibles, but they give you the struggle of what life is like. We make fun of all the other branches for being able to take care of their personnel as they should, but to me, the Marine Corps helps me out in the next like 20, 30 years of my life when I'm old and gray, God's spirit life. I can sit down and think about the fun times and the struggles that I've had. Being in the Air Force, I would probably be very comfortable, but at least I would still have the memories that I have now in the Marine Corps. I would not trade anything, any service, any service for the Marine Corps. I'm very biased. I'm very biased.
Sergeant Britton, he was waiting on you to come on back. All right, thank you. So here's what. After everybody finished speaking, I am going, because right now you guys are selling the army to me. So imagine I'm a recruiter listening to the officers trying to buy me over. So I'm going to make my decision after this. I'm really excited about this ending. So who will be next?
I'll go ahead. First of all, Senpai Gunny. Don't get me wrong. I love the Marine Corps overall. Overall, love the Marine Corps. It's been best. Knock on wood so far. Awesome experience. I would say anyone that want to join French is what you want. Don't be like me and Google the best and see everyone talking shit. Stuff saying that the Marine Corps is the best and join. But I lucked out. I would say it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a challenge, definitely join the Marine Corps. If you're looking for a transition to become a civilian, I would say go ahead, join the Air Force 100%. They do. I went to the Community College of the Air Force for my school. Best time ever. Best facilities I've been through so far in my career. I've worked with the Army, currently do work with them. Those guys, they have their stuff going on for them as well. But it all depends on the challenge you're looking for. If you want a challenge, I'll definitely sign up, join the Marine Corps.
Marine.
Time.
Okay.
That's
all right, I'm listening. So it leaves two more persons to sell.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead. I don't want to be last. So because of how the Guyana Defense Force is set up, even though it's different, the Guyana Defense Force as an entire organization. So even though you might be Coast Guard or you might be Air Corps, you're still GDF. All right. However, if you were an officer, I'd say to you definitely what Sergeant McFarlane said. It depends on what you're interested in. However, the Guyana Defense Force, unless you come in with a specialty, unless you come in as a pilot, as an engineer, that's basically it. Everybody else, unless you come in as a pilot or as an engineer, you're gonna be thrown where GDF needs you. All right, or a doctor. If you're a doctor, obviously you're going in the medical field. All right. However, for a soldier, and I will be the person posting you to the various units. If you have a skill, I try to direct persons into that field. If you're a mechanic, I send you engineer. If you're a plumber, I try to direct you into the skill, the unit that will utilize your skill.
All right. So
however, if you do not have a skill, the units I would definitely say to anyone on the road is Air Corps, Coast Guard, or engineers.
Okay.
Air Corps, in that order. Air
Okay.
Corps, Coast Guard, and engineer. Because at the end of the day, if you're a pilot or an aeronautical engineer, that's a skill that you will utilize for life.
Yeah.
All right. As an engineer, whatever field you are, that's something you will utilize for life.
Okay.
I also post persons to the medical field, but I'm more of a hands-on person, so I prefer Air Corps engineers, Coast Guard. That's my field. I would definitely say don't come into my field unless you're looking for a lot of stress.
All right. Thank you very
Oh.
much. So, Chaplain, you have the final say.
Yes, and I am going to give you the recruiter line of all recruiter lines.
I'm listening.
You can join the Navy, you can join the Air Force, you can even join the Coast Guard, but you realize you have to become a Marine. And so I'm going to toss in my hat with Gunny and say, recommend the United States Marine Corps, because at the time, if you want to say I accomplished something in life, I became a Marine. And it's the brotherhood and the camaraderie that's there. You know, sometimes you'll run into somebody after, it's like, oh yeah, I served and I did this thing, but Marines have a different level of camaraderie where they will say, oh, that's my brother. And so if for nothing else, that is what I would recommend.
No, I'm in a position that I don't know what to choose. I mean, you know, the one of the things I like about the Air Force is the fact of the civilian life after. I don't know what age you guys retire over there, but if I'm taking that into consideration, I want to go back into normal life, you know, family life and transition. The Marine, I like the fact that, oh, you have bragging rights for eternity, I guess, as long as you're alive on Earth, you have bragging rights. So it's like, yeah, you know, as a woman, especially if you go through the Marine, woo. And I could be presenting to a group of men and tell them, I went through the Marine guys, the Marine. Well, Guyana is, I know it's skill specific in most cases, right? There's where you're being placed. So, Captain Cadogan, I don't know where would you place me before I give my final verdict on the U.S. chapter?
Based on your skill set, you would definitely be somewhere where I am in human resources or in the welfare department. Definitely.
Okay, not bad at all, not bad. All right, so between the two votes, drum roll. All right, good. Because of my personality type, I will choose the. I love this. I will choose the Air Force. Yeah, because of the civilian. I think it's a goodbye because of who I am. And I want to just transition back to normal human being without being too much bothered. I will choose the Air Force. So I know, Darren, I know. All right. So I just want to say thanks to all of you. I want to say special thanks to Sister Geraldine McCalman. And that is Darren's mom. If it wasn't for her, we would not have had this program here this evening. When she made a suggestion to me, I got excited right away. And I am so elated that she came up with this initiative. And the contacts with all of these individuals. And Colonel Sergeant Johnson, I'm happy that you consented to be here. I didn't know whether you would Darren be here, would he not be here, you know? But I'm happy, you know, you took the initiative of being here. You guys were amazing. You guys have made tremendous, or you're still making tremendous contributions to society. I'm so proud of all of you. Sergeant McFarlane, I think maybe you're the youngest here. And, you know, just listening to you saying that, oh, I have, you know, a group of people like, what you call it, a platoon?
Yes, a platoon.
Yeah, man. And you know, the way you speak and everything, I'm like, yeah, I love to see young men taking full and complete control. And I hope that each and every one of us, you know, you were able to inspire, that you were able to be inspired, the audience here. And okay, 38 or 40. Okay, in Guyana, the age of retirement is 38 to 40. And the age, and it's the same with the US?
It depends. You just have to hit 20.
No, it was
so
recently
20
changed.
To what? Captain Cadogan, your microphone is muted.
Oh, sorry. I was saying it was recently changed. What happened is that we initially we had younger persons come into the Guyana Defense Force. Persons, soon as they came out of school, they came to
Yeah.
GDF. So at 17 plus, so at 37, almost 38, you would have had 20 years service, which was the years of service that would have entitled you to gratuity, a pension, and all the rafflings of being a serving member. Well, you had that at 14 years plus, but that was dependent on your age. Now, what we've had over the last couple of years is that persons would have went ahead to some tertiary level of education to get their skill or their degree or whatsoever, and then join the GDF. So they're almost at 24, 25, which for the basic recruit course or standard officer program, we usually employ 18 to 25 or 17 years, 9 months to 25. That's the age for entrance. So at 45, you would have had 20 years service, which was the age for a sergeant. Now, however, you would have had persons coming a bit later than that age, and they wouldn't have gotten their 20 years service. So they didn't have all the trappings attached to being a serving member. So that 45 years was extended to 50. So for other ranks, the age of retirement is 50, and for officers, the age of retirement is 55.
Okay.
There is early retirement if at 40 for me, at 40, I will have exactly 20 years service. At 41, I can retire from the Guyana Defense Force.
Okay, nice, lovely. And what about the US?
So the US, one of the great things about the US is once you're in, one of the major, so this is from like my HR days, like one of the major requirements is that you're able to do 20 years prior to turning age 60. Like that's like the kind of golden rule. You have to be for retirement, so which means most services, excluding the Air Force, most services you have to enter service for the first time before, I believe, your late 30s. I think the Army is almost at like 39. You can enter because that gives you 20 years to retire. But now we have this thing called the blended retirement system, and now the blended retirement system gives you the opportunity to retire based on points accrued in your military service versus years accrued on. But it really depends on when you enter service. And they changed that in order to give personnel like me who were not going to go to 20 but still have some type of retirement based on the years. Unfortunately, I had just enough points over, and I was grandfathered into the old type retirement system. So when I actually got out last year, I wasn't entitled to the blended retirement system. However, like my brother and personnel, like the people who come into the military after a certain time are able to retire at whatever age, get something from their time of service. But normally the golden rule, if you want to go 20, is just to making sure that you can do 20 years prior to the age of 60. There are exceptions for doctors and dentists. Those guys normally can stay until about 62. But the majority of everyone, normally there isn't like a magic out age. Like my dad is in his mid-50s and he is still going. Like and officers also get a longer kind of breath of time to listen to. So as long as you're not like non-retained, and non-retained just means that the military has decided to, something, great job, we're not going to move forward with you. We're going to go ahead and retire you. You pretty much can go until I've seen people 30, 35 years active duty. It's uncommon. My uncle did 35 years active duty. And so it's not uncommon to see that. But the most common thing to see is like that magic 20. Now, I've only been out for a year, so I know the Marines, you guys probably have a different experience because of what every person have their like quality, their criteria for retirement, or their criteria for you continuing on. And I think Army has one of the laxest standards for keeping you going, because they just want to keep you going. So I feel like the Army has one of the most lax standards when it comes to like when you want to retire, when it's time to retire. And I've seen like the Air Force Marines kind of have one of the most stricter guidances when it comes to that. And that's just because of the physical and technical expertise you need to have.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So I know your dad has left. So CW3, Britain, we have Sergeant Britton, Sergeant McFarlane, Captain Cadogan, Chaplain Lawrence, and Gunner Sergeant Johnson. Thank you all for being here. You were an extremely not only intellectual guests, but in addition to that, we had fun. We had our laughters and we had our moments of sadness where we experience and share our stories. So Chaplain, I'm going to ask you to do the best thing for this evening. Could you please close us in prayer?
Certainly. Let us. Most kind and compassionate Father, we thank you so much for all that you bless us with. We thank you for this awesome calling you've placed in each and every one of our lives to serve our country and to whether we serve as retired civilians or continue to serve, your blessing, for your leadership, your guidance, and your direction over our lives. Not only us, but may we also touch, whether it be through guard duty that we stand, resources, through training new Marines or through advising those that pick up our mantle after us. Thank you for that all, and we ask that you will bless. In your holy name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
God's blessings, and I'm going to see each and every one of you again on Tuesday. Thank you for being a wonderful audience.